everyone, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Do you want to take a look at White Dwarf 198 with me? Of course you do. Let's see what we've got. Okay then, here we go. What do we have in this colourful issue of White Dwarf? It's a tantalising contents page, right? Some new Savage Orc Boar Boys. Stormtroopers in 40k. Never my favourite Imperial Guard regiment. It's an interesting one because they're painted up very much to look, I guess, like sort of SAS or SS rather troops with the black colouring and this kind of storm lightning bolt logo. And yet, actually, the gear, and people who know Second World War gear will know this a lot better than me, but the gear that they have on looks much more, to my mind, like sort of American Special Forces para regiments than SS. So I think they've been trying to not make them sort of historical German Nazi, probably best avoided at this point, stormtroopers, but trying to give them a bit more of a kind of American Special Forces feel to them, given that they're supposed to be good guys because they're with the Imperium, although we know that the Imperium is not full of good guys. Here is a discussion on dragons and some new rules for making dragons that little bit nastier in Warhammer 4th edition, because at this point it was felt that since the launch of the Warhammer rulebook, some extra rules had been produced, some more troops had come out which have made dragons not quite as fearsome as they might perhaps be supposed to be. And then here are some special rules for the Forest Dragon. Here is Jake Vlemix's very cool Gribbly Chaos army. I remember being fascinated by these conversions when I first saw them. Let's zoom in so you can see this crazy Chaos Dreadnought with the Chaos champion in here, and then the various zombies, older Cavadan zombies here, and converted beastmen. And this was just so different to the kind of army that you would see in White Dwarf at the time, the sort of studio armies. That again, this really made an impact. That sort of different look, different style, showing what you can do with the figures to get a different look, which is exciting. If you remember the Wood Elf Undead diorama that Mike McVie did, well, it's coming up. And because it's coming up, it makes sense to have a Wood Elf Undead scenario here. This scenario actually drawn from a piece of flavour text that was published in the Army's book, and also published in the previous issue of White Dwarf, between Meb, the Wood Witch, protector of the Cairns of Lauren, and Lusgar Noircourt, Blackheart, the black-hearted necromancer lord of Canals. Here are those card sheets in the middle. The Heist Necromunda scenario, some epic army cards, war gear cards for Manus Calgar, Chief Librarian Tigerius, and the Banner of Macragge from Codex Ultramarines. That's what was in there. These being the epic objective markers, war gear, and these bits for Necromunda scenario, which we will find shortly. Here we have some scenarios for epic. Here we have the glorious Imperial Bastion, again making good use of those Necromunda bulkhead tiles. Here's another glorious modelling workshop, Chris Maple this time, who has been building buildings that were shown in the Citadel Journal, and now has been asked to write an article for White Dwarf. And of course these are very similar to the Dave Andrews modelling articles that we've seen in earlier issues of White Dwarf, with this sort of lean out Tudor townhouse, and the basic structure of this building that. But it was a while since those were featured in White Dwarf, and it's nice to have an updated article showing them, even if no templates in this one. You have to come up with your own templates. Bit of Q&A, various systems. Adrian Wood gets excited about Warhammer, having been very much a 40k person. Decides what army he's going to collect and paint. I'll give you a clue what he ends up with. Here are some new Savage Orc War Boys, which confused me at the time, because my first miniature that I ever bought from a blister pack was the Savage Orc War Boy Boss, which goes with these guys. But he was apparently released a lot earlier than the Spears and the Shaman. The guys with the clubs, which you'll see in the catalogue pages, were just these were conversions of those. So I don't know, maybe in the most recent Orcs and Goblins army book, there was an option for arming your Savage Orc Boar Boys with lances, and they felt that, or with spears at least, and they felt that that was lacking in the miniatures range at the time, so they needed to get some of these figures into production. Discussion on scabies in Necromunda and Pit Slaves. Here is Mike McVie discussing that diorama. This very cool, this is at Warhammer World, or at least it was the last time that I was up there. Very cool wood elves and undead diorama with this lovely stormy sky, and so many, not as many hidden things. So Dirthy's a bit hidden in the back. Here's the thing to discover, and there's the Way Watchers up here. But not as many hidden things as in a lot of Mike McVeigh dioramas, but very, very fitted for this double page spread in White Dwarf. And the discussion on making sort of more realistic trees out of the regular railway scenery trees is quite interesting. Here's a scenario for Necromunda that was sent in by some fans, the Heist. That's what we had the cards in the cardstock section for. And then here is Warwick Kinraid and Gav Thorpe actually playing this scenario with the Ratskins trying to defend a Gilder convoy against Warwick's Escher warriors. And then we're in mail order, and then we're in the catalogue pages. Here are those stormtroopers. Here is the best Jez Goodwin sculpts ever, in my opinion. I think the Escher miniatures, they're just really finely detailed. They're really, really lush figures. I love these a lot. I've got quite a lot of them. I don't think I painted them as well as I should have done. I keep thinking maybe I should go back and at least touch them up, if not give them a proper repaint, because they are my favourite. It's just the facial expressions, the fine features. You find a lot of Games Workshop female sculpts don't look female. They have very male looking faces. It's very hard to sculpt fine featured female faces that read at this scale, and Jez has absolutely pulled it off with this range. Yeah, definitely some of my favourite models. Michael Perry's Ratskins, Colin Dixon's Scavies, Ali Morrison's Pit Slaves, everyone getting involved in Necromunda here. And here are those Savage Orcs. So you can see here are the two that were in production previously. Here are the two new ones. The hair's slightly different. That arm has been reposed, but it's basically been chopped at the shoulder and a spear arm sculpted on. And this one, same thing, that's been chopped just beyond, and probably just at the wrist in fact, and had a top knot put on just to make him look slightly differently. And in fact the boss and the shaman here are very much the same sculpt, the same base sculpt as well, just slightly reworked with the different cape and the staff. Here are those Wood Elf releases, including the Forest Dragon, using of course the plastic talisman Dragon King wings, which is an excellent idea. Everyone who's pinned metal wings previously and knows how prone they are to metal fatigue will have thought that was a really good idea. And then on the back here we've got another Eldar battle scene, but this time with Imperial Guard, and this time a lot more craggy. The colours not so vivid. You've still got green and red, of course, going on here, but the background colours are all a little bit more muted. It's not quite so lush and verdant now. It's a bit more rockier. Looks a bit more kind of naturalistic and toned down, and this lovely landscape at the back here, which I imagine was painted by somebody, possibly John Blanche, maybe, don't know, who knows. These things that just kind of creep into the background that people don't pay too much attention to, but somebody had to paint that. Very cool. There we go, a quick run through of White Dwarf 198. I hope you enjoyed that. I shall see you next week.